Other things that we do are we have a 30-day checkup. I will, when I list a house, I will also take their neighborhood and put it into our database, our email notification system, and I will set it up for, let's say I'm selling a house in Allview Estates. I will set up an email so that anytime another home in Allview Estates hits the market, we'll send them an email, and I'll blind copy myself. The worst thing, or not the worst thing, but sellers often call and say, the house on 123 Bellevue just listed. Did you know about it?
Wow.
And so I find that if I send them an email and I'm the reason that they were advised, it makes them feel as though Mike Sloan is on top of the market.
Right.
And he's keeping me informed of what's going on.
Because by them telling you, it's kind of that tit for tat control type of thing where they're saying, hey, you know, I know more than Mike.
They'll say, did you know that they're having an open house on, the next neighborhood over? Should we have an open house?
Right.
So you want to be the deliverer of communication.
You
want to be the expert.
What about pendings and settles too? I mean, there's 3 houses in the neighborhood. Sometimes there might be 3 houses on the street. If you're carbon copied, I guess it's safe. My fear is that, boom, a house goes pending, and they're thinking, how did Mike's competitor sell that house and not mine? But if you're carbon copied, I guess you could immediately send an email that day and say, I've looked. I'm trying to find out if the buyer that bought this looked at yours.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what they're thinking. They're thinking, that house sold. Why did that house sell and not mine? And you don't want them to think that the reason that house sold was because a buyer looked at it but didn't look at theirs because they have a crappy agent.
That would be the worst case scenario, and that we obviously didn't do something to expose that buyer to their home.
You want to let them know right away, as soon as possible, that the buyer that bought the house down the street looked at yours, and it's this guy right here, and his feedback was X.
You have a 1-car garage, he needed a 2, the other property had a 2-car garage.
Right.
But even if that's not the case, I really want to know, I really want to be able to see which homes in and around their area that compare to theirs, that buyers potentially would see in addition to theirs, which are the homes that are selling or going under contract while their house is on the market. Mm-hmm. Obviously, those people have been successful. We want to align ourselves with those people. So we want to know, we want to break down each of those homes, how big's the lot? What's the price? Maybe it's cheaper. Maybe that's the right price. Maybe that's the new market price. What's the size of that home in relation to theirs? So we want to kind of just figure out, even if we don't know from the agent data who bought that house, we kind of want to see why that home sold. Is it much larger? We at least want to build a case so that we have a reason that we can go to our seller and say, well, that home was bigger and it sold for the same price you're listed at today.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to consider a reduction. So all of that data, if you give it to them,
spurs conversation,
of
right?
course. And it's not as if it's Mike Sloan's opinion. Now there's fact basing it up.
Yeah.
Now we can show you that we have had your property shown 22 times in the first 35 days.
Right.
I feel as though that's my job. I need to create traffic.
Right. It's almost like when something goes pending, it's good news. You want it to be, hey, good news. Less competition now. Or all the buyers are going to funnel to ours,
It's not as though they're alienating our neighborhood. They are buying homes in and around you.
Right.
There are buyers out there for it.
It's social proof.
Correct.
That people are buying in the neighborhood. It kind of takes the wind out of the seller's sails for that whole conflict part of it, where they would be like, why is not my house sold? Or where, good news, the house sold, good news. It's social proof that people are buying in the neighborhood.
And it kind of, like you said, it wakes them up a little bit. Because all sellers, it's human nature. They've decided over the course of their ownership of 15 years that replacing the roof was the right thing to do. and putting on the screened-in porch. That was so much better than building a deck and installing a pool or adding a detached garage. So the things that they've selected to do, they believe to be the most valuable things to add value to their house.
Yeah.
When other homes are selling, they look down the street and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they have a deck. They don't have a screened-in porch like Tom and I."
Yeah.
But then when that home sells, it's more. It kind of it resets the reality of the decisions that they've made, the improvements that they've made on the home, and gives you a reason to be able to go to them and say, we probably need to reduce.